Number 10. Civil War I. Oh boy, the first Civil War caused a great uproar and a good deal of problems in the superhero community. It also made Earth vulnerable to attack as it evidently involved just infighting. When superheroes turn on each other, that's bad. When two main superheroes who are part of the same team turn on each other, that's ridiculous. And that's exactly what happened with Civil War I. While the inciting incident that divided heroes wasn't caused by Iron Man or Captain America, and actually was pretty serious, they both had become leaders of two different approaches for how to best resolve that main issue. Iron Man believed that superhuman beings needed a shorter and tighter leash basically, and should work with the government so they could kind of be overseen. Number 9. Axis. Axis was an event where we saw heroes and villains sort of do kind of like a role reversal. This happened as a result of a spell backfiring, cast by, well, you probably guessed it, none other than Scarlet Witch. Wanda, for being a powerful magic user, has kind of a challenging time with magic. Although to be fair, she actually wasn't the only caster involved here, although she is the one that we often talk about. Doctor Strange started casting with her, and when he got taken out, Doctor Doom actually helped in his stead. So Doom is also possibly to blame as well, even though Wanda usually takes a lot of the flack for this one. What launched the Axis event was Wanda and Doom attempting to cast this spell on the evolved and supremely powerful version of Red Skull, Red Onslaught, which sort of came about when Magneto was like, I know how to fix this, I'll kill you, and then Red Onslaught happened, so it didn't work out so great. The spell actually succeeded, but kind of backfired in that many other heroes and villains within a certain radius also got hit with the spell unintentionally. Oops. And friends, if you are loving what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, may I recommend that you check out our latest channel, Most Amazing Top 10 Anime. Number 8. Hydra Cap. Hydra Cap is definitely a pretty bad thing that happened for the Avengers in, well, in many regards. One, Hydra Captain America is literally another version of Captain America who for a while we actually thought was the main continuity version for real. So we're not off to a great start with that. Number 2, the Avengers failed to stop Hydra's Supreme Cap from taking over the US. Number 3, some of the Avengers were even manipulated into joining Hydra and Hydra Cap's forces. Some of them were actually like possessed, and some of them were just kind of made to do so. All around, it was just a rough time and not a great look for the Avengers overall. I'm actually surprised there isn't more pushback from the public today as a result of this one. Number 7, Iron Man joins Kang. Yeesh, the crossing. What a weird crossover event. Every time I think I'm over it, we come up with a list topic where I kind of can't help but like return to it. In this event, Iron Man, one of the main Avengers, was revealed to be secretly one of the baddest of the bad, as we learned that Iron Man had actually been working for Kang, or rather Kang's Immortus version, for years. That's right, it turns out that Iron Man is actually a sleeper agent for Kang, or he was. He kind of still is, because he kind of got reconciled into one being, but it's still the old Iron Man. Anyways, as weird as it sounds, this was actually an even worse weirdness than Captain America working for Hydra in my mind. At least that made more sense to me. Iron Man would fight against the Avengers, and when they struggled to defeat him, they called in a past version of himself for him to beat and almost kill. Number 6, Final Fight. When the Earth was threatened by incursions during the events of Time Runs Out, what did the Avengers do? Save the day? Try to stop those incursions? Not exactly. Captain America had once been a member of the Illuminati, the secret group of heroes who banded together to resolve ideally all of Earth's problems without anyone actually even knowing. A group of superpowered intellectual, philosophical, and moral geniuses. At least that's what they thought. When the incursions were discovered to be a threat, and the majority of the group felt that it was important to consider the possibility that they'd maybe need to destroy other worlds to sort of save themselves from it, Captain America fought vehemently against that idea. As such, his mind was wiped, and he was decidedly ejected from the group. When he regained his memories, rather than use the Avengers to fight against the incursions and find a way to stop them, he actually spent the last bit of time before the multiverse was to end hunting down the Illuminati and in a toe-to-toe battle with Iron Man. Number 5, Captain America kills Steel Corpse. In an alternate reality belonging to Age of X, Tony Stark became consumed by a virus which fused him with his suit, causing him to slowly be digested by it. Ew. Formerly known as Iron Man, Tony adopted the mantle of Steel Corpse following this, which he thought was more appropriate considering, well, he was basically just a corpse in an armor. He joined the Avengers team in their mission to exterminate mutants, but when they decided to rebel against their mission directive, saving mutants instead, an emergency override system caused Stark to be unable to follow suit with the rest of his teammates. Stark told Captain America to save the mutants they were targeting, which he knew meant that Cap would be forced to kill him. Number 4, Captain Marvel kills Tony Stark. During the events of Civil War II, we saw Tony Stark's Iron Man and Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel butt heads over what the best decision would be when it came to using or not using the Inhuman Ulysses' future vision. This all happened after Carol had been attempting to fight Thanos, whom Ulysses had predicted would return, and during the fight Rhodey, aka War Machine, was killed. Carol was for using Ulysses' visions to prevent possible catastrophic events, whereas Tony was against punishing or arresting people based solely on Ulysses' visions, which he thought might be flawed. The Civil War ended with Carol seemingly killing Tony, though it was later revealed he was still alive but in a coma, and then of course later on he woke back up and he would actually even come to forgive Captain Marvel. And now they don't really talk about the fact that that all happened. Number 3. Steve Rogers kills Superior Iron Man. During the events of Time Runs Out, as a final incursion threatened the very existence of the entire planet and universe, Superior Iron Man and old Steve Rogers came to blows. They were fighting about the controversial actions of the one secret organization of brilliant minds known as the Illuminati. Also, Superior Iron Man is just kind of a jerk, so it makes sense that Captain America would be like, I'm gonna fight you, you're evil. Captain America had declared Iron Man and the Illuminati enemies due to their actions, and as such, the two heroes and former friends had come to blows over the argument. Just as the world was about to end, these two fought each other to death, both being taken out by a helicarrier during their fight in their last moments before everything reset. And then Battleworld happened. Woo! Number 2. Young Tony Stark kills older Tony Stark. During the events of The Crossing, a wildly crazy story, it is revealed that Tony was a sleeper agent for Kang the Conqueror, who he later found out was actually a Mortis in disguise, posing as Kang. Evil older Tony kills tons of people before the Avengers attempt to stop him by bringing back a younger version of himself from the past who they hope can help to stop their Tony. This didn't quite work out as they planned, but in the end, older Tony and fake Kang were defeated when older Tony, inspired by younger Tony, decided to sacrifice himself, switching back to the side of the heroes right before he died. With older Tony dead, it was decided that younger Tony would stay in the future and take his place. Number 1. Tony Stark kills immoral Tony Stark. A crazy turn of events came about that led young Tony Stark to effectively make himself brain dead in the comics in the Invincible No More story. Following Secret Invasion, Norman Osborn created Hammer in the place of S.H.I.E.L.D. and created his own Avengers, which we know as the Dark Avengers, mainly comprised of villains who adopted heroic personas to mirror that of the original Avengers team. To prevent Osborn from getting a hold of information that was gathered from heroes during the events of the first Civil War as part of the Superhuman Registration Act, Stark transferred the files from S.H.I.E.L.D. computers to his own brain, and then later wiped his own mind completely, making him brain dead. Tony would later return, but not really as the same version of himself. This Tony Stark would not have the knowledge of his actions during the first Civil War. How convenient. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. How many of these deaths do you remember? Do you think that Tony is one of the most disliked or most liked Avengers when it comes to team dynamics? And are you an Iron Man fan? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments for one of our latest videos, Top 10 Supervillain Sidekicks You've Never Heard Of. Jamal Cal X comments, lies! Everyone knows of Dexter, for he is the best cat! Or at least, now they know. I would hope so, but I feel like people who are not huge Lanterns nerds might not know about his awesomeness, so I was happy to share his story with those who have not known about this awesome, badass kitty. Great Fearin shares, I know who Gustav Hauptmann is. I mean, come on, no one else knew who he was. Wow, well, 10 points to Ravenclaw for you. Yeah, he wasn't in a ton of issues, so good on you for knowing your Fantastic Four and your Doctor Doom lore.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Diana gets ahead of the game. One of the changes to reality that occurs during the Flashpoint event is when Wonder Woman and Aquaman get married. I mean, it's great. I mean, well, not really. I mean, weddings are fun, I guess. I don't know. I hear shout and then I black out. It's so weird how that works. So this is the reality now where Bruce Wayne was shot and not his parents. And if that wasn't wild enough, Superman is now in a government lab having a not so relaxing time. And then we see Diana being saved by a sea monster from Aquaman. How lovely. A nice thing. This is great. We have nice things in this list already. Lovely. Ah yes, classic Wonder Woman. Nice. Nothing like getting cheated on and then having your head cut off, adding injury to insult this time. And then she pops her crown off of her severed head and then places it nicely on her own head. A war of course follows between the Atlanteans and the Amazons, but it comes to a lovely conclusion when Wonder Woman stabs Aquaman in the back. And yes, I mean literally in a sense. And before we go on to number 9, guys, if you want to go ahead and give this video a like, that would be great. You're the best. Thank you so much for watching. Let's pop right back into number 9 right off the bat. Let's keep going. Number 9, hard feelings. This next one isn't exactly a bad deed, but it's too weird of a Justice League story to not include, so I'm gonna throw it in at number 9. One I'd rather not have in my brain all day, so let's just get it out of the way. So now we go to World's Finest Comics issue 289. So Batman and Superman decide to catch up on some bro time, you know, take a break from beating up bad guys, just have a heart-to-heart, see what's going on in here. Now this heart-to-heart is the start of a wild adventure. Now the issue is titled The Krill Way of Dying, and the dialogue itself is really good stuff actually. It highlights the mental health struggles that superheroes go through, you know, not being able to save everybody. It's meaningful, it's powerful dialogue, but what takes this issue to new heights, well rather new lows, is when Superman and Batman are interrupted by a meteorite crashing, and out of the meteorite emerges the Crew. Now the Crew, not what you imagine in your head off the bat. I can tell you that because the Crew, they're a bunch of space worms, and they're attracted to sadness. That's how they found the two, because they were talking about super sad stuff, and they're like, yes, sad, this way, let's go, let's head it. Their super depression was literally glowing, so these aliens need emotion in order to pass away. See what happens when you try and feel nice things, Justice League? Way to go, now we're all crying. I'm definitely crying. They're crying, they're dead. Space worms are coming for me because I'm crying now. What a vicious circle. Number 8, Lockdown Beatdown. Kingdom Come is a 4-issue miniseries that comes from Mark Waid and Alex Ross. It's an Elseworlds imprint. Now, in this alternate reality, 20 years into the future, our heroes have gotten a little older, so they settled into the retirement life. Now, these new anti-heroes stepped up, and new vigilantes, of course, soon followed. Some of them were children of the previous superheroes, so it goes kind of deep. See, Parasite breaks open a hero named Captain Atom, and you already know by his name how that's gonna turn out if something like that were to explode. Boom, there goes Kansas, gone. No, literally Kansas was gone. It was now just this wasteland. So this is when the Justice League comes in to save the day, or I guess turn the wasteland into a super prison too. That as well. So when you throw supervillains and superheroes into this alien tech super prison, there's gonna be a few fistfights, that's for sure. Number 7, Tower of Babel. JLA Tower of Babel is a Justice League storyline, and one of the best storylines in my humble opinion. Written by Mark Waid and illustrations by Howard Porter, Batman is the greatest detective alive. Odds are, if you're ever in a room with Batman, he's already thought out your every move and he's planned his accordingly. He's always 2 steps ahead. That's what makes him the best. He also just happens to be the sole reason that everything goes in this storyline. He doesn't mean to, but it happens. So Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins launched this huge simultaneous attack on every member of the Justice League of America. Now the attacks are so specific, they're aware of the weakness of each League member. Now Batman was once worried that one or all of them could go rogue at any point, so he had contingency plans in order to take them out if that day ever came. So Talia al Ghul broke into the Batcave and stole those files. So if you want to take down some bad guys, here's exactly how to do it. Thanks, Batman. The best files ever. Now we have all the deepest, darkest secrets. Cool. So Plastic Man gets frozen and then shattered. A specifically designed Vibra bullet hits the Flash in the neck and causes him to have seizures at light speed, which sounds like an absolute nightmare. And Superman gets exposed to red kryptonite, and sadly, many more get hit too. Number 6, Batman ignores Blue Beetle. So back in Countdown to Infinite Crisis, Blue Beetle had actually approached his super friends and teammates after he had discovered something called the OMAC Project. So he brought it to Batman's attention, but Bruce just doesn't really give a damn at this point. He brushes him off almost immediately. Well, the OMAC Project, of course, turned out to be something, and when Blue Beetle discovered it, he's all by himself, and he doesn't live to tell the tale. If only Batman just took him seriously in this moment, things would have turned out a lot less ugly for him. I mean, I know Batman created this thing in the first place, so it's kind of fair that he didn't listen to him, but like before Infinite Crisis, the OMACs killed a lot of people. Shouldn't have just given him like 2 minutes to maybe explain. And the fact that Batman didn't just listen to his team member, especially when he already knew something was kind of going on, sounds like it's all on you, Batman. I don't want to be the guy to say it, but I was just the guy to say it.
Number 5, rats for dinner. As if the previous point wasn't enough, Bruce not only deprived Robin of a warm, dry, and draft-free place to sleep, but he also deprived him of a rat-free place to sleep. The Batcave you see is filled with rodents, apparently, and when young Dick Grayson asked Batman and Alfred about dinner, he was refused any food from the household and instead told that he should catch his own supper, forcing him to dine on rats. What is happening? All-Star Batman was really brutal, not just to people he didn't like, but even to those he supposedly did like, such as Robin. Although I think maybe Batman needed to turn Robin into like a big jerky jerk like him in this universe before he would fully like him, because this Batman was definitely a jerky jerk. So maybe that's what was up with all the making him sleep in the Batcave and eat rats and stuff. Number 4, slept with Batgirl. Although honestly, I wish I could count this for Babs too, but she's never been a Robin, so although it feels like there is some injustice that was done to her here as well, we're just gonna focus on the pain that these two caused Dick Grayson, Nightwing, who is basically Batman's surrogate son in almost every reality, and probably one of the most famous Robins. This one comes from the Batman Beyond continuity and apparently happened when Dick Grayson was out of town. Not only is this messed up because, well, I mean, Babs was Dick's girlfriend, akin to a daughter-in-law to Bruce, but he also ended up getting her pregnant. The affair between Bruce and Babs ruined Nightwing and Batgirl's relationship, obviously, and afterwards Bruce didn't even stay with Barbara as the two broke up after she lost the baby. Major yikes alert. Number 3, unable to save Robin. In this case, Batman was unable to save Robin this time around in the Batman Beyond universe when he was kidnapped by the Joker and Harley Quinn. For this one, we're talking about Tim Drake Robin. Tim Drake was out on patrol on his own. He ended up kidnapped and hidden in Arkham Asylum for 3 weeks, with Batman unable to find him while he was tormented and brainwashed by the Joker and Harley into becoming Joker Jr., and also was coerced into revealing secret intel about Batman as well. This whole thing, it was pretty awful, and although Batman can't be held responsible for Joker and Harley's actions here, it is pretty strange that Robin managed to stay missing for 3 weeks, and also that he remained hidden away in such an obvious place as Arkham Asylum. I thought Batman was supposed to be one of the world's greatest detectives. The pain didn't end there for Tim either. No one would happen to catch a sneaky microchip that was implanted in Tim, which years later would actually cause him to regress, with Joker's personality gradually taking him over again. Fortunately, Terry McGinnis' Batman at that point was there to save the day and managed to destroy the chip, freeing Tim for good. But that wasn't Bruce Wayne Batman, that was Terry McGinnis Batman, so just saying. Number 2, dead. Probably one of the worst things even in Batman's mind that he has ever done to any of his Robins is when he let Jason Todd die. Well, I mean, he didn't let him die. He wasn't just like standing there and he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna look the other way for this one. He did try to save him, but unfortunately he made it too late. This also would create a major shift for Jason, who would return many years later, alive once more, feeling as though not only did Batman fail to save him, but he also failed him in the sense of abandoning him, as Jason did manage to survive. Now granted, Batman and the rest of the Bat family, they never knew about that. So although Jason still holds this grudge somewhat even today, it feels like he's expecting a lot from Bruce and company. Cause like, they would have been there for you, Jason, if they knew. However, if you ask Batman, not being able to save Jason Todd would probably be pretty high up on his own list of worst things he has ever done to a Robin. Number 1, killed almost all of them. Despite it being in the name, it's sometimes easy to forget that the Batman who laughs was also once very much Bruce Wayne and the vigilante hero known as Batman. However, after being exposed to some very noxious Joker venom stored in Joker's spine and last breath, as Batman snapped his neck, killing him, Batman began to change. He became more and more paranoid and villainous, becoming ultimately an insane, almost hybrid version of hero and villain. Part Batman, part Joker when it came to his psyche. This prompted Batman to summon all of his Bat family members, but rather than ask them for help, he killed them all. Well, all of them except the Robin who was also his son Damian Wayne, who he instead offered a place at his side. Damian accepted and was spared, but every other Robin was pretty much murdered by the Bat himself, at least in this dark multiverse reality.
Number 10. Cyclops and Wolverine's Schism. Schism was basically Wolverine and Cyclops fighting over ideologies, particularly ideologies surrounding the young mutants' minds that they were subjecting to danger literally all the time. Wolverine believed in a more nurturing parental approach, while Cyclops had the idea to treat these youngins like soldiers. Cyclops' approach is bad enough, but the whole initiation of this fight was another low for the mutant Boy Scout. Cyclops founded Utopia, giving mutants a place to live, but a place that was now being threatened by a new Hellfire Club that attacked a group of young X-Men at a museum opening, taking hostages. Cyclops and Wolverine were racing to get there, but were too slow, so, to Wolverine's horror, Cyclops ordered Teenage Mutant Oya to de-life all the Hellfire soldiers, which she did successfully. The fight between Cyclops and Wolverine then split the mutant community down the middle. Number 9. X-Men vs. Inhumans. The Inhumans were an offshoot of humanity that were experimented on by the Kree, gaining powers from a process called Terrigenesis, using Terrigen mists. Now it turns out, these mists are basically poisonous to the mutant population, and mutants were hurt when mists were released on Earth. The Inhumans in response felt pretty bad and were all for some kind of peaceful resolution to the issue. But Emma Frost made a whole plan that all the mutants, including the X-Men, agreed to except for Beast, Forge, and Rogue. Emma also basically staged the passing of Cyclops at the hands of Black Bolt of the Inhumans to get the mutants to fight back against the Inhumans, who weren't even trying to fight in the first place, causing a whole war between the two groups. It makes no sense, but that's how it is, I guess. If you guys love mutants and these videos, be sure to drop a quick like on this video. It's all you gotta do to show us your support. Thanks, nerds. Number 8. Danger. While working to upgrade the Danger Room by installing Shi'ar technology one night, the Danger Room spoke to Professor Xavier and asked, "Where am I?" Realizing that the Danger Room had mutated and become alive, but still needing to train his X-Men, Professor Xavier made the choice to just ignore and hide the life form from his X-Men. Not smart, since later, the Danger Room began to control other machines in an attempt to gain a body. After sending an Omega Sentinel to battle the X-Men, the Danger Room convinced a student at the school, Wing, to de-life himself, which resulted in the breaking of its prime directive and the physical manifestation of the being named Danger, taking on a female appearance. After locking all of the students in a nightmarish simulation, Danger battled and defeated the X-Men, then went on to do a whole bunch of much worse things herself. Number 7. Wolverine. In Wolverine Origins number 29, it's revealed that Wolverine was originally sent to assassinate Xavier as a member of the secret Weapon X experiments. Xavier, obviously able to read Wolverine's mind, sees the attack coming and thwarts it by brainwashing the aggressive Canadian into becoming a member of the X-Men. He removed a bunch of old memories, implanted some new ones, and basically left Wolverine's mind a confused mess. But Xavier managed to get what he wanted, which is a powerful weapon to fight for his cause, so good job, dude. Number 6. The Phoenix 5. In the 2012 crossover event Avengers vs. X-Men, the Cosmic Phoenix Force was coming to Earth, and when it arrived, it was split up into 5, giving our heroes a new problem in the form of the Phoenix 5. The quintet consisted of X-Men veterans including Cyclops, Emma Frost, Namor, Magik, and Colossus, who began reshaping the world according to their will until they themselves became a threat. As each member of the 5 fell, those left standing got more and more powerful, leaving Scott and Emma, who were becoming more tyrannical by the minute. To stop the two of them, Professor X was recruited by Magneto, but the cosmic entity had consumed Scott and even basically made him betray Emma Frost to gain more power. After a mental battle between him and Xavier, Scott used his power to actually take the life of his father figure, mentor, and dear friend, becoming the Dark Phoenix until he was defeated by Hope Summers and Scarlet Witch. Number 5. Namor and Atlantis. As a member of the Avengers, when the very serious and long-awaited Avengers vs. X-Men event took place, Wanda remained on the side of her crime-fighting friends. A main cause of this event was the return of the Phoenix Force, which was unintentionally split among 5 members of the X-Men. The Phoenix 5 went after Scarlet Witch, which is fair, considering the crazy things she has done to cause the mutant community a whole heck of a lot of grief in the past. After one of the Phoenix hosts, Namor the Submariner, lost in his fight to Scarlet Witch, he went and attacked Wakanda. He was so close to winning too. Too bad Wanda showed up yet again and used her powers to completely wreck him, saying, "Go away," and bursting him into shards like he was a delicate piece of china. She then subdued the whole of Atlantis too. Yeah, she's pretty scary. Number 4. Magically made her children. Now before you get upset, giving birth is not evil at all. I mean, the kids could be a pain in your backside, and if they're the type to throw tantrums, then I mean it's everyone's problem at that point, but overall, they're a miracle. Problems arise though when 1. You have children against your partner's wishes, 2. They aren't actually real, and most importantly, number number 3, you use black magic to make them. Yes, you see, when Scarlet Witch became an Avenger and fell in love with the android Vision, they got married, and even though he was against it, Wanda used her magical abilities with some manipulation from Mephisto to make herself pregnant. Something an android is obviously incapable of. The magic pregnancy gave birth to twins, who were then taken and absorbed by Mephisto. Eventually, the real essence of these twins transferred to become 2 real heroes, Speed and Wiccan, who are both very powerful heroes currently. Number 3, Hawkeye and Ant-Man. As we know at this point, the Avengers have had to tackle the Scarlet Witch on multiple occasions, but she remained a member and a loyal one at that. After Wanda had gained a powerful new chaos magic from Chthon, she was a little bit more unstable than before. And after the children she had lost and forgotten about, an unintentional remark by fellow Avenger the Wasp mentioning her kids drove her over the edge. And her chaos magic was unleashed, and she went bananas on the Avengers, really giving it to them. This directly led to the de-lifing of the now Wanda-crazed Vision by She-Hulk, an illusion of a Kree invasion, a fake team of Avengers to protect Wanda, and not to mention the end of the line for both Hawkeye and Ant-Man. This is one of those incidents that led directly to the House of M event. Number 2, took out her entire family. Remember when Scarlet Witch reversed the morality of pretty much everyone? Well, it wasn't the only bad thing that came out of that moment from our favorite unstable magic user. After the moralities had been switched, Wanda wanted revenge on Doctor Doom for all the things he's done to her in the past, like when he manipulated her after she lost her memory into being his bride for his own power-hungry wants and desires. Understandable stuff like that. Her idea as more of a villain was to just go to Latveria and stop him breathing. Magneto and Quicksilver, her father and brother, did not want her to go down this path and tried to stop her. But being the dangerously unstable person she already is, she angrily and impulsively cast a spell that would end the life of anyone related to her by blood. Quicksilver dropped on the spot, instantly felled, but Magneto, to Wanda's surprise, remained. And that's how she and a lot of us found out Magneto is not actually Wanda's father. Oh, also she ended her brother's life, so yeah, that's kind of extremely evil. And coming in at number 1, it's M-Day. Alright, the other big one. So we know that in the House of M story, Scarlet Witch altered reality in some rather big ways, but it wasn't as if everything before this didn't happen, just no one could remember it. One mutant by the name of Layla Miller, for example, could remember the reality before, and she used her powers to restore the memories of a bunch of other heroes. Another mutant, who you might know of by the name of Wolverine, could sense that something was wrong with this reality. He and a few other heroes, including a resurrected Hawkeye, formed up into a team to put things back to normal. Seeing as Magneto was now the ruler of the world, it made sense to them that he was responsible, and they went to attack. During the scuffle, Magneto had his memories returned to him by Layla, and Wanda convinced him it was Quicksilver who urged her to do the whole reality warping thing. Angrily confronting Quicksilver, who admitted that he would have let Wanda perish, Magneto made him perish. Wanda, thoroughly angry and unstable yet again, revived her brother, yelled at her non-father, denounced Xavier, and in 3 words, no more mutants, she reverted reality and depowered 90% of the entire mutant population, resulting in a huge loss of life. All this on the day forever known as M-Day. What a great time.
Number 10, Iron Man almost kills Tony Stark. Iron Man is really good at making suits, sometimes too good. At one point, he decided to make an AI suit instead of an AI to be used in his suit. This artificially intelligent suit did what most artificial robotic intelligences do. It almost immediately became evil. Although Tony did also decide to use some Ultron code to construct it, which honestly probably was not such a good idea, especially for someone who is supposed to be a computer genius. In the end, the suit created programming that allowed it to feel emotions, and after fighting with Tony Stark and trying to get him to forcibly merge with itself, it eventually felt remorse at its action. While during their fight, Stark suffered a heart attack. The suit sacrificed its own life, giving Stark an emergency and what looks like terrifying artificial heart transplant. Like, you can still see the artificial heart sticking out of Tony's chest. That does not look sanitary to me. Number 9, the Avengers kill Iron Man. Okay, so the Avengers weren't solely responsible for his death this time around, but they definitely were the ones who caused it to happen. at least in part. During the events of Armor Wars, Iron Man became branded a criminal by the United States government. Among those opposing the vigilante were fellow Avenger Captain America. This, however, happened at a time where Tony Stark was not known to be Iron Man. His identity remained a secret, and Stark simply claimed that the man in the suit was actually his bodyguard, often remote controlling the suit to kind of make it appear as though they were in the same place at the same time, so no one would question his explanation of the identity for Iron Man. In the end, Stark decided, because of being declared an outlaw, to kill Iron Man, claiming that the man in the suit was named Randall Pierce, and staging Pierce's death by allowing an empty remote-controlled piloted suit to be destroyed during a confrontation with the government. This would later allow Tony to reveal himself as Iron Man, though he would at first claim another employee of his had simply taken up the mantle. But we knew the truth. It was really Tony in that suit, once again. Number 8. Zombie Hulk kills Zombie Iron Man. During the events of Marvel Zombies, pretty much almost all of the zombified heroes meet their end at one point or another, save for a lucky, or I guess unlucky, few. Iron Man is not one of the zombified heroes who makes it, however. He is one of the victims of Zombie Hulk, who kills a bunch of other zombies when they start getting angry with him for eating so much, as they fear their food supply of brains and meat is running low. Zombie Hulk crushes Zombie Iron Man to the point that blood sprays out of his mouth and eye holes of his armor. Basically, he squishes him like a grape. Number 7. Tony Stark sacrifices Tony Stark. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it was Tony himself who killed Tony, or while he chose to sacrifice himself in order to ensure the events of Thanos' snap at the end of Infinity War, which initially wiped out 50% of all living beings at random, including half the population on planet Earth, remained reversed, so unsnapped if you will. In order to bring everyone back, the heroes needed to time travel to retrieve the Infinity Stones and use them to create their own Infinity Stone Gauntlet. Then the question came of, who was going to wield it. The Hulk was the one to bring back everyone using the gauntlet, but Thanos from the past returned to threaten the heroic plans of the Avengers. He attempted to guarantee that his future self's plot, and really his own plot, remained successful, but Tony managed to get rid of him, wielding the gauntlet himself and using it to wipe out Thanos and his army with his own snap. Unfortunately, because Tony Stark is just a man at the end of the day, the amount of energy this required ended up killing him, despite him wearing his Iron Man armor at the time. Number 6. Dark Avengers kill Tony Stark's evil brain. In issue 190 of the Dark Avengers, we get a glimpse into the pocket reality of Earth 13584, where New York is one of the last vestiges of human civilization that various superhero factions fight for power over. One such faction is led by an evil Iron Man who is now just a brain. His armor was crushed by a giant Janet Van Dyne of the same pocket dimension reality. As his brain ejected from the armor, Trickshot of the Dark Avengers, Barney Barton, Clint's brother, shot the brain with an arrow, killing this alternate version of Tony Stark. Number 5. Actually killed innocents. Other than Jamie, who Wolverine seemingly almost had killed but then ultimately did not have killed, and the countless other baddies that Wolverine has faced and defeated over the years, there are also other youngsters that Wolverine has been forced to take down. One of the worst moments where Wolverine has been forced to eliminate a youth happens actually outside of the main continuity in the Ultimate Universe, the reality of Earth 1610. Here, Wolverine is sent on a mission to do the X-Men's dirty work by taking out a young mutant who threatens the very rights mutants are basically fighting for. The sad part? Really isn't this kid's fault. His mutant power simply manifested without him knowing and caused him to accidentally vaporize the entire residents of his town, including seemingly his high school crush or his girlfriend or sweetheart and his parents. So really feels pretty bad, and you're like, wow, Wolverine, really, wow, that's what you're doing? But he's like, hey, I gotta protect the mutants or something by killing a mutant or something. Seems a little shady, the reasoning there. Number 4. Became Apocalypse. Of course, this one also did not happen in the main continuity, but hey, it still happened, so it still counts. This all went down in Age of Apocalypse, where Wolverine, here known as Weapon X, would fight against Apocalypse for most of his life. At one point, he was part of Magneto's X-Men, but would leave them to rescue Jean Grey, his love and later his wife, and fight alongside her against Apocalypse in their own way. Eventually, however, Jean was believed to have been killed and Weapon X would become a recluse, only to find out years later that she was actually alive. Dun dun dun. When the Celestials returned to Earth following the death of Apocalypse, James Howlett offered himself to the Celestials in order to prevent the destruction of Earth. However, this caused him to become the very villain he had hated the most, as the Celestials used tech to modify him, giving him great power but basically warping his mind, and causing him to become Apocalypse's heir, known as Weapon Omega. He was basically just like, evolution is what it's all about, baby. People were like, but don't you see? You're Apocalypse now. And he's like, but it's different. I'm trying to save people by killing people. Wait a minute, maybe you're right. Number 3, killed the mongrels. These last few spots are definitely all competitors for the number 1 spot on this list in my opinion. This one is especially bad because the mongrels were actually Wolverine's children, although he didn't know it at the time that he was forced to fight them. They were rounded up by his known son with Itsu, Daken. Daken was working with the Red Right Hand, a group who had a personal vendetta against Wolverine. Daken created the team known as the Mongrels, not even really to defeat Wolverine, despite Daken having trained them himself. It was kind of like a win-win situation for him. Either Wolverine would be killed by the children he didn't know or had forgotten he'd sired over the years, or Wolverine would end up killing them all. The latter was kind of how it went down, and when Wolverine learned that the members of the Mongrels had actually all been his children, and he didn't know that, he was pretty heartbroken. So I guess point 1 for Red Right Hand and Daken. Only sad points for Wolverine. No points for the Mongrels because they died. Number 2, made moves on MJ. So this one is so awful, it of course cannot come from the main canon of Earth 616. Instead, this point comes to us from the alternate reality of Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe. After Wolverine had she attempted to get back at him by making him telepathically swap bodies with the person he hated the most, which ended up being Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. Although Jean later says, oh sorry, I didn't know this would happen to you, Peter. Oops. But anyways, while swapped, both heroes struggle to deal with the everyday while occupying each other's bodies. However, Wolverine still manages to find some time to put some moves on MJ. Well, they don't seal the deal. This is really messed up because Mary Jane at this point in time is a teenager and she didn't even know that Peter and Logan had swapped bodies, so she thought that it was just Peter looking for some action instead of the super old at this point thanks to his healing factor X-Men hero Wolverine. Although not a very heroic moment here, Wolverine. What you doing? Don't do that. Number 1, kill Daken. I think one of the worst things you can do as a parent is to kill those you're supposed to be looking out for and taking care of and protecting, even if your son happens to be the often villainous Daken, now commonly referred to by his actual birth/human name, Akihiro. At one point, Wolverine was forced to put down Akihiro during a fight. Akihiro had held a grudge against his old man for years, having been trained by Romulus to hate Logan after being stolen from his mother's womb and raised by Romulus. For years, Wolverine thought his son was dead, not knowing to come searching for Akihiro. But Akihiro was raised to believe he was basically abandoned, and he also grew up in a household where people didn't like him because he was half Japanese and half Canadian, so that was another issue. Thanks to some plotting from the devious and diabolical mind of Victor Creed, aka Wolverine's nemesis Sabretooth, Wolverine was forced into a death match with Daken, a match that ended with Wolverine killing Akihiro, drowning him in a puddle, while sadly thinking of what could have been had Akihiro been given a chance at a semi-normal life, being raised by Wolverine and of course his now deceased mother Itsu. What would it have been like if their life had been happy? We'll never know because he gets drowned in a puddle. But don't worry, Akihiro's alive and well now, so it all fixed itself. And now he and Wolverine are on great terms, so never mind, I guess. Number 10, took his own life. Right in front of Robin, no less. Of course, this was all part of a plot to get into the exclusive Death Cheaters Club, but he still made Robin take part in this wacky scheme. Not only did Robin have to stand by and witness Bruce drink a poisonous concoction so that he might momentarily die, but he also was involved in that scheme. It was Robin's role to go and retrieve the doctor, who was at Wayne Manor to visit the elderly butler, Alfred. Dick had to pretend this all happened randomly, by the way, and wasn't planned at all. While the doctor attempted to revive Bruce, he began to worry with every passing second if Bruce would manage to recover and how awful Dick would feel if Bruce died. He was like, this is terrible, what if it doesn't work out? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that you feel that way. I feel like this is not an activity that your kid's sidekick should be involved in. You shouldn't just be like, I'm just gonna take my own life and put myself in this place, but don't worry, it'll all work out, and just be here and make sure it works out. That's a lot of pressure. I'm like 11, Batman. Number 9, made Robin dig his own grave. This actually happened to Dick Grayson's Robin in the comic World's Finest in issue 197. One of those stories where the plot is all based around one shocking, comic-selling cover-featured moment. In this case, the moment was getting Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen and Robin to dig their own graves, while Superman and Batman stand over watching them, threatening to kill them once they're finished. Oh my goodness. How could this happen? Well, I mean, Batman was going to do the killing here anyways, because Superman has a very strict moral code that he simply cannot break. But I know, you're probably wondering, how did this happen? It's so crazy. Look at this cover. Well, this seems awful because, like I said, shock factor. In reality, this all came about as a misunderstanding. Batman had bumped his head and believed that he was Mafia crime boss Lucas. I think I'm saying that right. Lucas. However, once his memories were recovered, it was too late. Superman was forced to seemingly kill Jimmy and Superman using his heat vision at the behest of the real Lucas, who appeared on scene. But don't fret though, this was all a clever ruse created by Superman to help them all escape safely, as well as apprehend the criminal. The overall plan also involved wax figures and a little piece of mint candy, because classic comics. I was wondering that when I saw when I saw Jimmy and Robin get melted, that's what I was wondering. I was like, wait a minute. They melted like pretty intensely, like a candle. They must be wax figures. Also, I love that that can all happen in front of like a bunch of people and everyone's like, yeah, that looks legit. Alright friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to hear about some more dastardly deeds that Batman has done to Robin, trust me, there are lots more, because classic comics and everyone was terrible back then. So be sure to let us know that you love this list by giving it a thumbs up, and maybe I'll have some more terrible things that Batman did to Robin to tell you about. Number 8. Rick Grayson. In a weird way, Rick Grayson was kind of Batman's fault, although KG Beast was the one who shot Nightwing, resulting in the brain damage that would of course affect his memories and leave him as Rick Grayson. Just around the time we had only just got him back as Nightwing as well. It would later be revealed that this incident was actually part of a larger plot, a plot to break Batman concocted by Bane and in part Thomas Wayne Sr., aka Flashpoint Batman. This proves that just being close to Batman can lead to all sorts of messed up things happening, including you forgetting who you are and instead of getting to be a hero again, becoming a very lost man named Rick, and later a brainwashed pawn of Jokers known as Dickie Boy. Rick Grayson was not a great time for Nightwing in the comics, and it all pretty much happened just because he was close to Batman and could be used as a tool to hurt him. So basically just one of the worst things I guess Batman can even do to anyone is be like, hey, you're cool and I like you. If Batman likes you, that's not good. Probably. Villains will come for you. Number 7. Letting them fight at all. One of the worst things he ever did to Robin, Stephanie Brown, was probably to have ever let her fight at all, especially as this was considered such a controversial topic by Batman's friend at the time, Dr. Leslie Tompkins. In the story War Game, Stephanie Brown attempts to win Batman's favor back after being fired by him by putting a plan in motion to give Batman control over all the rival gangs of Gotham. Unfortunately, this doesn't work out, because she is missing crucial information involving the real identity of Matches Malone. Spoiler, Matches Malone is Batman. And Stephanie ends up being captured and tormented by Black Mask. In the end, she succumbs to her injuries, but it was later revealed that this was because Tompkins, who recovered Stephanie, allowed her to die, all to prove a point to Batman about raising kids to become vigilantes. This would later be retconned so that, in truth, Dr. Tompkins had actually faked Brown's death to prove a point, but took her with her afterwards when she fled, not actually allowing her to die. I mean, I agree with that retcon because I feel like otherwise, wow, you made Leslie seem like really terrible. And yeah, that would be awful. Still though, if Batman had never had Robins to begin with, Stephanie would have never joined him, been fired, and then ended up almost dying after falling into the dangerous, sadistic hands of Black Mask. All in all, a lot of grief could have been avoided if Batman just didn't have Robins. Number 6. A Batcave Bedroom. In Frank Miller's All-Star Batman and Robin, the list of injustices committed against poor Robin, Dick Grayson, are very long. Included in this long list is the time that Bruce made Robin sleep in the Batcave. Literally, Bruce Wayne is a super rich millionaire type who has a giant house and could have let Robin sleep anywhere else. But here, Batman is trying to, I don't really know, is teach Robin a lesson? Torment him into submission? I'm not really sure of the motivation, but either way, he feels it's better if Robin is forced to sleep in the Batcave to learn probably some kind of lesson. The Batcave is a literal cave, by the way, so it's drafty and completely unsuited for sleep when it comes to comfort levels. I feel like it might be time to call child services on Batman. Someone. Get Robin help.
Number 5. Wonder Woman hunts the Huntress. The Injustice universe shows us a different side to our team members, sometimes a little darker than we're ready for. So in issue 21 of Injustice Gods Among Us Year 3, we find our main supers in a world that's not so bright. And when it comes to issue 21 of Injustice Year 3, DC shows us yet again how great Wonder Woman is at cracking that lasso of truth. It's just a matter of where she cracked it, that was the problem. Well, she wraps it around the neck of the Huntress, and the crack that we hear is exactly what you think. Bam. So Batgirl calls her out for being a murderer, even though she really didn't mean to do it. Accidents happen, especially in the middle of a battle, you know, it happens. I mean, the tension was high. The Huntress was punching through shields. Wonder Woman just reacted in a violent way. It happens, you're a superhero. I remember one time I wrist shot an orange hockey ball through a garage door thing. It's like, you know what? When you're in the middle of it, accidents happen, you get crazy. Number 4, get a room. Look guys, superheroes have emotions just like us, okay? They meet other superheroes and they take down bad guys together. They hook up in the sky in the owl ship above the rest of the world. They're just like us, okay? Sometimes key intimate moments are hard to conceal when you have the powers of a god, right? Specifically Wonder Woman and Superman. So after the triumph that is The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller decided to dive into an intimate moment with those two. So Wonder Woman and Superman embrace in each other, but where does this happen? In a fancy hotel? Fortress of Solitude? No and no. They get it on up there in the sky, of course, where everyone can see and hear. So they're superheroes, so this caused massive tidal waves. Volcanoes are blasting off, people are even evacuating islands. Like, this is a bad day. I mean, bad day for everybody but Superman and Wonder Woman. They look like they had a great time. Number 3, Superman moves Atlantis. Injustice Gods Among Us issue 12 is the final issue of the first Injustice comic series written by Tom Taylor, and we see Aquaman just unleash the ultimate pain. He's not having an easy go at this time. He's unleashing armies on coastal cities. He's trying to show Superman that he has the power as well, and that he's not going to allow Atlantis to be taken over. So Superman is like, okay, you think you're the tough dude? No problem. Let me step in. Superman sees this as a threat, and even Batman's like, great, this is exactly what I thought was gonna happen between these two. So Superman doesn't just fly in, fight Aquaman one-on-one, and then settle their differences with this whole ordeal. No, instead Arthur gets the help of Wonder Woman and Green Lantern, and they literally move Atlantis. They move Atlantis like it's new furniture.
Pivot! Pivot!
They move it to the Sahara Desert, the place with the least amount of water possible. Not cool, guys, not cool. Number 2, Superman outs Batman. So in the climax of Batman vs Superman, we see Bruce Wayne straight up try and take out the Man of Steel. It's intense, and it ends with Superman not surviving in a way, but until he comes back in the Justice League movie. Spoilers. So if you're feeling a little upset about that, this next one should turn the tables in your mind. Superman once outed Batman, and he did it in a pretty hilarious way. Through social media, of course, of course. Did he make a TikTok? No. Was it through Ask FM? No and no. It was in the pages of Injustice Gods Among Us issue 10. I mentioned this comic earlier because it has our super friends going against each other, but Superman takes it up to the next level when he posts Batman's true identity online. His tweet was quite simple and to the point. Batman is Bruce Wayne. 1.5 million retweets, not too shabby at all. Batman's trending on Twitter in real life almost like once a week, so I'm just waiting for the day when I look and I'm like, yes, Batman is real. And he's Paul Giamatti, get out of here, I knew it. I knew it. Number 1, Justice Lords. The DCAU introduced us to the Justice Lords back in November 2003 in an episode titled A Better World. Was it a better world? No, definitely not. They were a multiversal counterpart of the Justice League. This is an alternate universe now, one where Lex Luthor is the current president of the United States. The Justice Lords were assembled to protect humanity from itself, which just sounds like bad news. That sounds like a bad story in the making. So yeah, they were robot replicas of Superman, and the inmates of Arkham Asylum were brainwashed and lobotomized. Just not an ideal world at all, definitely not a better one. And then when the Justice Lords of this universe found out they weren't alone, they tried to bring their ways of heroics over to our world. But our good Justice League took them down with the help of our Lex Luthor, who used the power disruptor to neutralize their super abilities. So it's like good Lex, bad Lex, good team, bad team. Mind explosion. The idea of a rogue team member is terrifying, but a rogue team? What a nightmare. How do you stop them?
Number 10, House of M. Starting off with one of the big ones. Scarlet Witch is infamously unstable. It has resulted in the end of the line for multiple heroes on multiple different occasions. More on that later. Her tendency to lose it caused the Avengers and X-Men to come together to think of ways to deal with her. Some, including Xavier, even suggesting they put her somewhere she cannot do harm. Somewhere like the afterlife, for for example. As you can imagine, it didn't sit very well with her when her brother Quicksilver told her about this and urged her to take action against it. Wanda used her reality warping chaos magic powers to rewrite reality to the House of M, a reality where mutants outnumbered humans, where a few heroes had what they wanted most to stop them from rebellion, and Magneto was the ultimate ruler. As for Wanda herself, she had one body that acted as her in public, while she could remain with her children, again in private. Number 9. Undead Horde. In the comic books, mutants have always had many different places to call home. One of the more long-lasting recent ones would be the island of Krakoa. It was a place where mutants felt safe, and no one but mutants had entry. Fortunately, Scarlet Witch is a mutant. Feeling regret for an action that will be much higher on this list, Wanda wanted to make up for her horrible mistakes by resurrecting all the mutants who met their end in Genosha at the hands of Cassandra Nova. Only, thanks to the fact that she can't seem to ever fix anything without actually doing a whole lot of damage, the deceased mutants were actually brought back as zombies. A whole army of mutant zombies invaded Krakoa, and it took the direct intervention from Doctor Strange to fix the problem. That becomes a bit of a theme for Wanda and Stephen Strange. Number 8. She led the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Switching realities for a moment to the reality of Earth 1610, or the Ultimate Universe. On this Earth, just like on the 616 Earth, Wanda and her brother Quicksilver were part of Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. But with the apparent departure of Magneto from his mortal coil, Wanda took leadership of the villainous group of mutants and gave them a bit of a rebranding. She wasn't all bad here, as she did keep in contact and sometimes work with Charles Xavier, whose opinions she respected while still believing that mutants were the superior species. Although a great leader, she still met her demise when a version of Ultron would fall in love with her, realize they could never be together, and then use a special bullet to take her out. Yeesh. Number 7. Black Magic. Boggles my mind that given the track record of black magic users, people still seem to try and go that route, thinking it will be different for them. Wanda herself has a sticky history with black magic, possession, and evil dark deities, like Chthon for example. Another example would present itself in Avengers number 75 in 1970. After losing her powers, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and the mutant Toad go to seek out a way for her to gain them back. They stumble upon a dark magic book, and super intelligently give it a read. A spell in this book allowed an extra-dimensional being by the name of Archon the Magnificent, Lord of Warlords, to teleport to Earth and kidnap her to be his bride. Oh, and he also was going to use nuclear boom booms to try and attack the world. The Avengers saved her and the world, but this led directly to Wanda's run-in with Chthon. Again, why do people decide to use black magic at all? I don't get it. Number 6. Morality Switch. Sometimes when Marvel wants to incorporate a cool idea for a comic series, they gotta come up with some awesome and elaborate ways to make it happen. It's half the fun of comics. A merging of Red Skull and the incredibly powerful Onslaught unleashed a huge Avengers and X-Men level threat called Red Onslaught on Genosha. Scarlet Witch and Doctor Doom combined forces to perform a spell that would switch the axis of morality inside Red Onslaught's mind to make him good and end the conflict. Honestly, a pretty genius idea. Only things went a little whack, and instead of switching the morality of just Red Onslaught, she switched the moralities of every single person on Genosha at the time. So everyone. Every villain became a good guy and every hero became bad. It was honestly pretty cool, but yet another time Wanda messed up a spell and affected everyone. And at number 5 is X-Force. X-Force. The X-Men Black Ops team. Cyclops' own little hit squad. There are more than a few not so great things this sub-team has done. Cyclops forcing X-23 to be on the team, performing assassinations, etc, etc. It's all bad. But after Cyclops disbanded the team, Wolverine kept it going on his own, and they took on a bit of a sinister task when they decided to take out a younger cloned version of Apocalypse to prevent him becoming a threat. This particular assassination almost didn't go through, but then Phantom X just popped the little clone in the head. Yes, it's incredibly messed up, but hey, then he cloned the clone and raised it in a virtual reality to give it all the nurturing it needed to be a good Apocalypse. Number 4. Professor X Mind Wipe. Professor X has a history of just impulsively wiping and manipulating people's minds, which never goes well in the long run, but for some reason, he just keeps doing it, even to those he considers friends and colleagues. Reed Richards, with whom Xavier worked with on the Illuminati, which is a whole other bad time, feared for his son's life and built a machine that would take away a mutant's powers. Reed's son, Franklin Richards, is an incredibly powerful being with reality warping abilities and was believed to be a mutant, which he wasn't, but that's another story. Professor X took exception to the machine that Reed built, so he completely wiped away the knowledge of the machine from Richards' mind. He made sure that Richards would never be able to build another one ever again, tampering with the mind of a man he used to call a friend. Number 3. Professor X Mind Wipe Mark II. It's not just colleagues that Professor X has manipulated. No sir, not by a long shot. But in Giant Size X-Men number 1, Charles Xavier has to put together a brand new X-Men team thanks to the fact that his original X group is being held captive by the living island Krakoa. However, we learn later that this new team wasn't the only one, because Professor X already sent out another new squad of X-Men to save his original team, and they were all horribly killed. Vulcan, Sway, Darwin, and Petra all seem to perish at the hands of Krakoa, and rather than admit his poor decision making, getting a bunch of mutants killed in action, Charles erases the minds of everyone who knew about this team, including Vulcan's older brother, Cyclops, which came and bit him in the butt when Vulcan turned out to be alive and came for some revenge. Number 2. Beast and Terra Verde. After the mutant nation of Krakoa was founded with its various different organizations and groups, the former X-Men Hank McCoy was put in charge of the intelligence wing of X-Force, which was the mutant nation's equivalent to something like the CIA, for example. This means that Beast is now one of the shadiest damn mutants you ever did see, and one of the most prominent examples of just how shady he now is comes in his response to an attack from the Republic of Terra Verde. Beast modifies the telefloronic biotech of the country of Terra Verde to take complete control of that country and its people. From there, he used them to seed telefloronic listening devices in embassies and basically used the state as a puppet for intel gathering. Hank transformed the nation into a literal puppet state and robbed its people of their free will. And in at number 1 is the secret of mutant resurrection. This one is gonna split a few people, and I'm kind of even on the fence about this one. Basically, if you don't know, in recent comics, mutants on their new nation of Krakoa have devised a means of resurrecting their own using a group of 5 mutants known, surprisingly, as the Five. Resurrection in comic books happens on an almost absurd basis, but this proven method of consistently bringing back the dead is different, and the mutants are very aware of that fact and even go to great lengths to keep it a secret from the rest of the world. The reason kinda makes sense, as 1, they can't really bring back non-mutants anyways, and 2, the amount of people who would be outraged at the fact that the mutants are allowed to revive themselves but us regular humans have to suffer through all the pain and loss of losing a loved one and can't do anything about it, it would just cause mass outrage and further turn the world against mutants. Still, devising the means for resurrection and not even trying to inform the world? Kinda hella sus.
Number 10. Kills. One of the worst things about Wolverine in general, but also maybe one of the best things, is that he kills. Or more now that he's willing to kill, I guess. Although back in the day, he really did kill pretty indiscriminately. And like I said, it was basically what made him one of the worst, while also being the best at what he does. Although, as Wolverine has even said himself, what he does isn't usually very nice. Now Wolverine is more reserved to maiming those he comes up against, only really killing those who he feels really deserve it, who are beyond redemption. But even then, the fact that Wolverine thinks he gets to decide those folks' fate could be seen as, well, pretty problematic. I mean, Wolverine's a pretty good dude all around, but I still don't think, even as a hero, that he should get the judgment call on who lives and who dies. You know what I mean? It definitely makes him a way more complex and interesting character. I will say that, so it is good in that way. Number 9. Almost killed an innocent. During his first long-running Wolverine series, Wolverine at one point must face off against Lady Deathstrike. The first time around that this happens in the series is back in the past, after Wolverine has seemingly traveled back in time via a picture. It makes a lot more sense if you read the story, but it's basically what happens. While attempting to escape Lady Deathstrike and defeat the German World War II soldiers who have infiltrated the part of Spain Wolverine is in, he and the rebels are faced with the decision of what to do with a young prisoner who has seen too much and could cause them to be captured if he's forced to talk. Prisoner's name is Jamie, by the way. I didn't write that down, but I know that, just in case. case you're wondering. One of the options on the table is to simply take out the prisoner Jamie, but because of his age, Wolverine ultimately helps to let the boy go and set him free. However, for a small moment there, it is implied that Wolverine has basically made the other choice and decided to kill the prisoner rather than let him walk free, with a promise that he won't tell anyone what he has seen or heard about where the rebels are headed. It's a very shocking moment where you're like, wait, did that just happen? Don't worry, it didn't happen. Oh, it only almost happened. The notion was entertained, and that I think is still pretty bad. Number 8. Relationship with Squirrel Girl. Wolverine's relationship with Squirrel Girl, as was established in New Avengers, might be considered by some to be one of the worst things he's ever done, or that was ever done to him as a character, I guess. This is likely because Squirrel Girl, aka Doreen Green, is often depicted as being from a different generation entirely than Wolverine, and that's not even considering that he's actually even older than he appears and than the generation that he first appeared in. Squirrel Girl and Wolverine were implied to have had a romantic relationship in the 2010 New Avengers series in issue number 7, and many consider it to be pretty odd. And I gotta say, the way it's also kind of weirdly like shoehorned in there, you're like, what? Why is this in here? What purpose narratively does this really give us? And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists about Wolverine, then be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Goodness knows he's done a lot of bad things. Even Wolverine would say that though. He'd be like, I got a lot of things in my closet. I got a lot of skeletons in my closet, bub. Number 7. Killed Jean Grey. Wolverine has done this on multiple occasions, and in one instance, kinda killed Jean on repeat, stuck on a loop of death after she refused to stay dead thanks to the resurrection powers of the Phoenix Force. Initially, Wolverine killed Jean out of mercy to save her from a gruesome death, burning up as they were in a space shuttle that was rapidly getting closer and closer to the sun. However, this death was actually quite helpful, as it allowed Jean to at least regenerate, unlocking her full potential as the Phoenix, which meant that she could actually then save them, so yay! And surprisingly, she also wasn't even mad about Wolverine killing her. Bonus! I'd be pretty mad, to be honest. It'd be like, wow, you just killed me. That's pretty shady, man. But I guess when you're like, but you unlocked my full potential, it's like, well, alright. Shortly thereafter, Jean would be killed permanently by Magneto, but years later would return again, only to have Wolverine, afraid of the potential of Dark Phoenix, along with the rest of the X-Men, kill her on repeat for a while by stabbing her through with his claws until he realized this wasn't exactly having the same effect that he'd hoped, as the Phoenix Force basically just kept rezzing Jean, so doesn't always work out. Still, that's a lot of Jean deaths. That is, I think, at least 9 Jean deaths total. I think 8 stabbies the one time, 1 stabby the other time. A lot of deaths. A lot of deaths without any actual death, actually, now that I think about it. Number 6. Got even with the Punisher. So the Punisher has done some pretty heinous things to Wolverine over the years in their ongoing fight for who can be the most edgy. This has less to do with Wolverine and Punisher feuding within the comics, and more to do with shots being fired between a few of their passionate writers, Wolverine's Frank Thierry and Punisher's Garth Ennis. Now granted, Thierry has also written a few Punisher titles in his time, although I don't think Ennis has ever written a Wolverine titled book, at least not as far as I know, which is surprising to me. But anyways, I digress. In Thierry's 2003 issue of Wolverine, issue 186, Thierry ended up aiming to get revenge on the Punisher for what Garth Ennis had him do in 2002 during his Marvel Knights run on Punisher in issue number 17. Ennis had Punisher brutally attack and maim Wolverine, basically, even going so far as to steamroll him, and some other things, which I don't know if I can even say on YouTube, but they were bad. To get revenge, Thierry had Wolverine imply the Punisher was gay. Doesn't sound so bad until you read it and you see how it's presented, with Logan implying the Punisher is basically lesser or less of a man or a hero because of his possible sexual orientation. Yikes. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't write that. It's unfortunate because now that's also on Wolverine as a character. Eek. Number 5. Create the Illuminati. Sometimes it only takes one Avenger to mess up everything for all of us. And that's kind of what happened when Tony Stark, aka Iron Man of the Avengers, decided to bring together the secret superhero group known as the Illuminati. Like I said, this wasn't the combined effort of the Avengers, but when you think about the Avengers now and even before, Tony has been a staple of that team for a very long time. And the Illuminati was really his genius idea. His genius idea. The Illuminati as a group have definitely caused more trouble than they're worth, causing a lot more problems in the cosmos than they've actually solved. Playing a key role in the end of the multiverse during Time Runs Out when they couldn't save the world, helping to cause Secret Invasion and World War Hulk as well. So yeah. Number 4. Civil War II. Even worse by far than Civil War I was its follow-up, Civil War II. In this story, we got more infighting, but for less logical reasons. This time it was Iron Man versus Captain Marvel, because I guess Iron Man just really needs to like duke it out with all the captains. This one is one we can also likely more blame on the behind the scenes, as Marvel was definitely aiming to capitalize on Civil War I's success with this follow-up, but it just didn't work out too well because Civil War II didn't really make a lot of sense for most readers. But in terms of the canon, Carol, I think, was hands down to blame here for just being, well, unreasonably aggressive on the matter that was up for debate. Whether or not to let Inhuman Ulysses, a precog, predict the future and then based on those predictions stop future criminals from committing future crimes before of course they even happen. Yeah, and I say that as a Captain Marvel fan. I'm a big Carol Danvers fan, but this one was pretty one-sided in my mind. Even I am like, I think Carol was wrong and Tony was right, and I don't say that very often. Number 3, Avengers Disassembled. Avengers Disassembled was a story arc where the Avengers essentially imploded. What had really happened was Wanda had learned of the secret being kept from her, that she'd had fake children, which she'd in essence kinda made, who had been taken from her and then wiped from her mind by Agatha Harkness. Now, Wanda didn't like that too much, and in essence turned against Agatha, killing her before turning on her friends and colleagues, causing them to lose control, attack one another, and sicking reality warped versions basically of like Vision and dead Avengers on them. Not only did the Avengers hurt one another, but they were made to do so by one of their own, and likely were even somewhat responsible for Wanda getting to a point where she decided to turn on them. So really, who's to blame here? Is it Wanda or is it the Avengers? Or is it kind of everybody? Number 2, ignoring Scarlet Witch. Avengers Disassembled was bad, but likely what was worse was that it kind of could all have been avoided if the rest of the team had simply, I don't know, cared more about their teammate and friend, Wanda. Scarlet Witch had a lot happen to her, and although this is of course superhero comics where every day that you're alive there's a threat of trauma or, you know, of the world ending, or both, there had been many signs that Wanda was not in a good place. Rather than do something about it or, you know, attempt to, I don't know, get her help, mainly the Avengers just went on as though everything was fine. I mean, I know they all each have a lot individually going on, but come on guys, if you have someone with reality warping powers on your team and they are using those powers to create fake children which then disappear without a trace after they also lose their life partner thanks to them basically being taken apart, mind wiped, and rebuilt as a blank slate without emotion, you might think to offer them some help, or, you know, at least check in to see like if they need anything, if they need a hug or a conversation. I'm not blaming them for what Wanda did, but I would at least like to hold them accountable for being pretty much awful friends to her in her time of need. Number 1, no more mutants. Probably one of the worst things that at least one of the Avengers did was to threaten all of the mutant kind's existence with just, you know, a few words. Although admittedly, this wasn't so much Wanda's fault as it was Marvel's, who of course needed some reason to get rid of mutants for a bit because, you know, they'd sold the rights away and they weren't really profiting as much from comics involving mutants at that time, and they simply had too many of them. But reasoning behind the story aside, during House of M, Wanda in the end struck out at all mutants because her father, she felt, was more obsessed with fighting for mutant rights than he was with his actual own flesh and blood family. Although we'd later learn that Scarlet Witch and her brother Quicksilver weren't even really like flesh and blood family. To begin with, part of the reason that Wanda suffered the mental break, which caused House of M and later M Day, had to do with the fact that her friends and Avengers didn't seem to notice or perhaps care that Wanda was suffering as a result of losing her children. And in fact, let us not forget that Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, of the Avengers, was also the one who even kinda like caused Wanda to remember her kids to begin with. She kinda spilled those beans. So whose fault was M Day really in the end? It was still Wanda's. Wanda was the one that said the words, so it's still her fault. But Janet was there.